Hello everyone. Um, Now we are talking about no signaling principle. This is one of the most fundamental ideas of quantum information, and we talked about it a little bit in the superluminal communication video, but we will now do a more general one and try to understand why causality is not violated. By that I mean you cannot communicate faster than light or instantaneously when you're far away from each other. All right, so let's try to state the problem first. Let's say you have two people, Alice and Bob, and uh, they are in like two corners of the universe, and but they hold they have access to a subsystem of a bigger space. That means that if you are in a system AB, then Alice has only access to the subspace A and Bob has only access to the subspace B. And but it can be like two entangled qubits. Alice has one and Bob has one. And then what if Alice performs a measurement? By quantum theory, we know that instantaneously the state of Bob will change if they're entangled, right? So now if they're entangled, can Bob actually see this change without communicating with Alice? That means, they don't do any classical communication. That means they don't, for example, they don't call each other via phone, but Alice just performs a measurement. Can Bob actually see it here instantaneously without communicating with Alice? Right? So this is the idea, and if this is true, then they're communicating faster than light, and then everything breaks down. All right. So this is where no signaling principle comes in. Is that if there's no way Alice or Bob can communicate with each other, only when they are performing local measurements. By local measurements, I mean that Alice only looks up here in the A subsystem, and Bob only looks at the B subsystem, and they don't communicate with each other. Can they actually communicate between themselves? And the answer is no. And that is the idea of no signaling principle. All right. So to understand that, we have to understand a few terms. Let's say, for example, local unitary. So local unitary means that if Alice performs a operation U, then on the total system, the operation will look like this. It will be identity on the B subsystem, right? Similarly, if Bob wants to perform the unitary evolution B, then it will be identity on the A subsystem, and you'll get UB. Okay, and there is also one thing to notice is that U times identity and identity times V. That means there are two local operations. One is a local operation on A with U, and the other one is with V. By definition, you can check it, that this is equal to this. That means that they commute. If Alice performs a local measurement first, or Bob performs it first, it doesn't really change the system. All right, and that means that they commute, and you can also write it as U cross B. All right, then you can add local ancilla. What does that mean? That means that A can be turned into A prime locally, and B can be turned into B prime. That means that you can, if you have some qubit psi, then you can add a subsystem A with that and turn it into a bigger subspace. You can do it locally, but it will only add dimensionality to your subsystem, but to the whole system it will not make a change. All right. Then then local measurement. So local measurement says that, okay, the state space or the Hilbert space can be denoted as HA, can be denoted as HAB, right? But what if Alice performs a measurement and he decomposes into this orthogonal decomposition? All right, it can be a one-dimensional subspace, or it can be like an incomplete projective measurement. That doesn't matter. Then this will be mapped to a subspace of this, which is EA tensor product HB. All right, that means that the Alice's part will be fixed and Bob's part will be still the general Hilbert space that was there. All right, and if Bob further performs a measurement, let's say another orthogonal decomposition, which is FA, then this will be mapped to nothing but EA tensor FB. Okay, let me give it, okay, let's not call it A here, let's call it FB, then this will be nothing but FB. And these measurements commute. That means if Bob measures first and Alice measures second, or vice versa, it won't make a difference, okay? Or if they measure simultaneously, they'll still be mapped to this this subspace, okay? And so now we are ready to state the no signaling theorem. So the no signaling theorem, what does it say? It says that suppose Alice and Bob have access to subsystems A and B respectively, of a joint state phi AB. So they had this state phi AB, they took one qubit each, and they only have access to subsystems A and B now, okay? Then Alice cannot convey, Alice cannot convey any information to Bob by performing local operations. Okay, or in other words, it's no local action by Alice, action by Alice can change the output probability distribution, the output probability distribution of any local quantum process by Bob. That means that they cannot communicate, right? If Alice performs a local measurement, then there's no way to change the probability distribution at the Bob's end. And if it is not possible, they cannot convey any information, and that is the idea of no signaling principle. All right, there is a general proof in the lecture note that is in page 32, but so page 32 of the lecture notes, you can check that, but I don't want to do it here, but interested students obviously are encouraged to check that, and you can discuss with me, but I would not do that in the video. But to understand this in a better way, we will work out an example in the next video. All right, so the no signaling principle is if Alice performs some local measurement, it will not give any information to Bob. Bob's probability distribution in his local operations will not change, and vice versa. So they cannot communicate only by doing some local operations. All right, and that saves us, because that saves quantum theory from special relativity. Okay, so we will work out an example in the next video, but if you still have questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. All right, thank you so much.